Okay, and then with that, I think we are good to go. So we can go ahead and kick this off. So welcome and thank you everyone for joining myself and my colleague Mario here this afternoon. We're going to spend the next little bit talking to you all about how you can start your career at UCDavis or UCDavis Health. And before we do that, we will do some quick introductions so you know a little bit more about who we are. So my name is Ellen Jordan. I am one of the senior talent acquisition partners on our leadership recruitment and diversity services team, along with Mario. Our team came into existence within HR about a year and a half ago. So we are somewhat still of a newly formed team, and we provide executive recruitment level services to both UCDavis Health and UCDavis on a variety of positions. But overall, I have been with the university for about 3.5 going on. Is it going on 4 years already? Yeah, going on 4 years here later this summer. And in total, I have over 10 years of frontline recruitment, HR experience, as well as fundraising and nonprofit management. So that's a little bit about me. And then Mario, go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mario Aguizabal, and I am one of two senior talent acquisition partners along with Ellen. My career at UCDavis started over 11 years ago, and 7 of these years have been in talent acquisition. Prior to UCDavis, I worked for the Contra Costa County Office of Education for about 15 years. And I'm just very blessed to have this job at UCDavis. It's been a great professional and growth opportunity for me, and I hope that you guys are able to join our wonderful team as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and use the chat and let us know what type of positions are you interested at UCDavis or UCDavis Health. You can include medical assistant, clerical. Just go ahead and use the chat and let us know. We want to hear from you. I see social worker, sonographer. Okay, clerical. Thank you, Wesley. Research. Outreach, excellent.
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of great things come in. And this is really wonderful.
They are coming in.
Yeah, no, and I see so many different opportunities that you all are listing here that are in line with positions that we do have available between our campuses. So thank you.
Exactly, and then we'll share just a bit about all the different levels of positions that we offer. So they match very good with what you're stating there. So great. Okay, we're going to talk a bit more in just a second. So let's move on and just talk about, Ellen, why UCDavis? Why work at UCDavis?
Yes, so UCDavis. So UCDavis, the main campus is where I started my career with the university, and it's a phenomenal campus. For those of you who are aware of UCDavis, we are a top 10 public research institute in the United States. We are the most comprehensive University of California school within the entire system. We have some of the top programs in the country and in the world. So our School of Vet Med is the #1 program in the world. Our School of Ag is top in the United States and goes back and forth as #1 or 2 in the world. And so really with all of that, I just put it out there and I say those things because that showcases how many opportunities I think there really are for folks, regardless of your interest or your background. And not only that, we've been recognized as one of America's best large employers. We've been recognized as an employer that supports diversity and diversity initiatives. So those are just a couple of fun things of why UCDavis. It's also a gorgeous campus. So if you're ever there, take a walk through the Arboretum. You could check out things at the Mondavi Center, or we have a few other art centers as well. So a couple of fun things about the main campus.
Okay, now it's my turn to talk about UCDavis Health. As many of you know, the hospital is located in Sacramento. We are the only level 1 adult and pediatric trauma center in inland Northern California in the Central Valley. We are nationally ranked in multiple specialties. We rated at the moment Sacramento's top hospital for the past 10 years. So that's every time I walk to the hospital and I see the big sign that says that we are rated #1 hospital in Sacramento, it just gives me pride because I work for the best hospital in the area. UCDavis Health is home of the nationally ranked Children's Hospital. We have top honors for nursing excellence. For many of you that are in nursing, we are a magnet recognized hospital. Patient-centered primary care models that we use for patient care, and we are honored for technology that improves patient care. So that's, in a nutshell, that is UCDavis Health. Next slide, please. And as you can imagine, it takes a lot of employees to run both the UCDavis campus and the hospital. You can see on this slide the variety of departments and positions that compose our workforce. And many of these areas of departments or positions you mentioned on the chat earlier. And opportunities vary from entry-level delivery services and in clerical to very skilled positions in the Office of Research. Next slide, please. We have over 24,000 employees within hundreds of positions of various classifications. And one of the advantages of working for such a large organization is the opportunity for professional growth and promotions. Applicants have the opportunity to search for entry-level positions, as you can see some of them here, at both campuses. And at both campuses, we hire custodians, administrative assistants, food service workers. At health, entry-level positions available in patient care include hospital assistants, medical assistants, unit clerks, and more. For example, just to give you a quick example of how I started my career in an entry-level position, I have been promoted throughout the time that I've been here. And for example, you can begin your career in health as a medical office service coordinator, 2, which is the medical clerk. With experience, you can promote to a more specialized role in the medical office service coordinator, 3. And if you're desired, promote to a lead medical office service coordinator. I know of employees who started their careers in a clinic as a medical office service coordinator and are now running the whole clinic as the clinic practice manager. The opportunity is there to start your career at UCDavis in an entry-level position and promote to a higher classification with time. That's the great advantage of working for this great organization, both at health and on campus. Next slide, please. And if you're interested in nursing careers at UCDavis Health, we offer 2 great opportunities. Our nurse residency program ranks as one of the best new nurse programs in the nation. This program is designed for newly graduate nurses from a bachelor's degree program or a master's degree in nursing program to transition from student to competent nurse. And each new grad hire into this program is provided with a mentor, preceptor, a coordinator as support to enforce this transition. And for any of you that are experienced nurses with at least 1 year of nursing experience, we have a plethora of career opportunities to work in our hospital or in the many network clinics in our surrounding communities. So those are great opportunities there as well. Next slide, please. And I also want to share with you about temporary employment services, or TES, as a way to get your foot in the door. The opportunities available in TES include clerical and administrative positions, analyst positions, technical positions, computer programming positions, and more. Many times these TES positions can be converted to career or full-time positions. And the benefits of working as a TES employee include competitive salaries, you get health benefits, and you also have the opportunity to network with nursing managers or hiring managers that eventually, that temporary employment services may be converted into a career position, and you still have that rapport with the hiring managers. And I should also note that the classification of where you are placed is based off your education and experience. So having a degree or prior professional experience may place you at a higher classification within the spectrum of TES positions. And I just want to give you a quick example of how a TES can work for you. And this is an example of our current talent acquisition manager. She was hired as a TES employee in HR after graduating with her master's in public health. Shortly after, that TES appointment was converted to a career appointment, and she was hired as a recruiter in nurse recruitment. She became a supervisor a couple years after in the unit, and now she is the manager of talent acquisition for UCDavis Health. So as you can see, TES can work toward a career path for you if that's what you're interested in. So it's a great opportunity to get your foot in the door and eventually transition into something more permanent.
And Mario, I just want to jump in for 1 second because I think it's also fun to share. Well, you shared a perfect real world story about our talent acquisition manager, but the presentation that we're putting on today is a very similar presentation Mario and I did at the beginning of December for another organization. And what was it, Mario? Just 2 weeks ago, I shared with you, a gal emailed me who took our advice in regards to TES opportunities, and she now has a 6-month commitment with us with the opportunity of it going into a career position. So again, it's a great opportunity out there. So just sharing another fun example of how it's been successful for others out there.
Yes, of course. And also too, if you can go back to the previous slide, I want to share something with the audience here. The website that it's included on the slide, you can go ahead and copy and paste that address and learn more about temporary employment services. So that's a great resource for you there as well. Next slide, please. Now let us go ahead and transition to how to find career opportunities on our website. Your search for career opportunities begin by accessing our employment website, hr.ucdavis.edu. And to view listings of open positions, you can browse and click on careers on the top left-hand side of the page to access the candidate gateway. And the screen that you see now, this photo, it's what our candidate gateway looks like. On the left-hand side, you have the option to browse jobs, view information about the benefits we offer, campus and community general information, etc. On the left-hand side, you can click on the videos to learn more about UCDavis. There's a message from the chancellor there as well, and great testimonials from students, staff, and patients about what a great place this is to work. So I would highly recommend that you take the time to view those videos as well. And to view open career opportunities, you can click on browse for jobs on the top left of the screen, as you can see right there. Let's go to the next slide, please. Here you will see a list of all of the open career opportunities available at UCDavis and UCDavis Health. And to narrow your research, you can use the filter on the left-hand side of the screen. You can filter by location. If you only want to see open positions on campus or in health, you can go ahead and select that as well. And another option will be to use the keyword function to search specific positions or departments. I can use the keyword function to search open positions with the title custodian or medical assistant, or search for any positions in the Department of Environmental Services or the Department of Research. And that will narrow your search. So, or if you want to just view all of the open positions with campuses, you're more than welcome to just scroll down and view those hundreds of positions that we currently have available. Next slide, please. And another way to search for open opportunities at either campus will be to type in or cut and paste the addresses directly to your computer browser. So you can see we included those there. The addresses for both campuses are provided on this slide. And a copy of this presentation, as I stated earlier, will be provided to you by the organizer, so you can go ahead and have these addresses readily available. And to view the description of a job you are interested in, you can click on the position title. And if we go to the next slide, please. When you click on the position, this is what you will see. There's the department description. All of our positions actually have this, just so you know. There's a department description, there's a job summary, there's a salary range, there's shift information, minimum requirements, preferred requirements. And I just want to emphasize to make sure that you read this information prior to applying to ensure that you're interested in that position, first of all, and that you meet the minimum qualifications of that position. And when you are ready to apply, towards the bottom of the page, it's not on here because we couldn't fit everything in. At the bottom of the page of the job posting, you will see the link to apply for that position. Next slide, please. And when you click on apply, our system will prompt you to log in or create an account if you are a new user. And I just want to emphasize as well that if you're applying for UCDavis Health, you will need to have a account, as well as if you're applying for UCDavis campus. So make sure that you keep those separate and you understand which one's for UCDavis Health and which one's for UCDavis campus. Although we are one system, the way that it's designed is that you will have to have two separate accounts in order to apply for UCDavis Health or UCDavis campus. Just want to keep that clear for you guys there. Next slide, please. And just a reminder, your online application, separate from your resume, should obtain all your experience that aligns with the minimum and preferred qualifications. Our recommendation is to fill out the application, even if you're attaching a resume. When prompted to include your work experience on your application, feel free to summarize your experience. You can expand and go more into detail on the work experience section of your application, of your resume, but just make sure that on the application, you at least summarize what your experience is. Many times what happens is that we'll discuss this a little bit further, but the resume, if you attach it in a format, may not come through. And if your application is not fully completed, or there's some information about your experience on the dates that you have worked in that specific organization, there's no way that we can verify that you meet the minimum qualifications. So it is important and imperative that you go ahead and complete or fill out the application as well, even though if you're including a resume. Next slide, please. I'm going to go fairly quickly showing you the different steps of the application submission process. And the reason why we want to do this because we want you to become familiar with how to apply for the positions and what we require and what we're looking for. And step one, take the time to read our application's terms and conditions. And that's practically what step one will be. Step two, please. Next slide. Attach your resume and cover letter. And again, our recommendation, if possible, will be to attach your resume and a cover letter. And Ellen's going to talk about more about resumes and cover letters in a minute. But if you are able to attach that, if you can convert it to a PDF, sometimes Word documents may get distorted in cyberspace, and a recruiter may not be able to open and view your resume. So if you are able to do so, that's fine. And if not, then Word document or any other format is fine. But if you can, a PDF will be recommended for applying or for submitting those documents in our system. Next slide, please. And as I shared earlier, summarize your work experience in the description field, even if you're including a resume with your application. And just ensure too that you complete the start and the end date, the supervisor information, and also the description, a summary of your duties and tasks in that specific role. Next slide. Okay, step three, reminder to include your degree or degrees in your application, especially if a degree is required by the position you're applying to. As I mentioned earlier, the requirements when you view the job posting will include if a degree is required. And we're very thorough when we screen applicants. And if the position requires for you to have a bachelor's degree in a specific field, and you have that, but you do not include it on your resume or on your application, you're not qualified. and that's how we are able to narrow the number of applicants that we route to department managers, but also view that you have or you meet those minimum qualifications. So if you have a degree and it's required by the position, please include it on there. If it's not required, even include it there anyway. just to ensure that you stand out as a top candidate when you're applying for a position. Next slide, please. In the continuation of step 3, a quick questionnaire and information about how you heard about this career opportunity. We collect data from the referral section to help us be more strategic about outreach efforts and job advertisement. So please make sure to complete this section to help us out where we need to advertise, where you're hearing from jobs from, and applying for our positions. So go ahead and do so when you have an opportunity or when you're applying for our positions. Next slide. Step 4, straightforward. Tell us about your preference. Are you interested in full-time job, part-time, per diem, etc.? Are you willing to relocate? What is your salary expectation? Those are very key information that we look at when we are looking at candidates that apply to our jobs. And the last step will be to review all the information and submit your application. So that's how that will be the end of the application process. And if we go to the next step, we went fairly quickly. We went through the process of how to apply fairly quickly. And on this site, hr.ucdavis.edu job talk, we added resources for you to go back and read step by step about searching for jobs and how to apply. And I've circled the 2 areas that are expandable. And I encourage you to go in and use this resource to go back and make sure that if you want just a reminder of what you need to include or how to search for positions, that information is readily available for you to use. Next slide, and Ellen.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mario, for walking us through quite a few of those things in regards to the application process itself. As part of that, we did want to let you all know that through our system, TAM, that's what we call it, it's our Talent Acquisition Management System. When you log in, you'll be able to see your status for any of the positions that you applied to. So they would say something like applied, reviewed, screened, routed, meaning your application has been routed to the hiring manager for further consideration. So you can always keep an eye on the status to see where your application is in the process. So just a heads up for that. But diving into more specifics here, I want to spend some time on cover letters and resumes, because these are incredibly valuable tools for you as an applicant when submitting your application and applying to jobs with us. So the first thing I'll touch on is cover letters. I definitely recommend submitting a cover letter for any position that you apply to. And the reason being, a cover letter is a great opportunity for you to actually tell your story. So you can do a couple of things, like number 1, highlight your interest in this department, in the position. So why you? Why are you the best qualified or best suited for this position? Why them? So why do you want to work with us at UC Davis or at UCDavis Health? Why do you want to work in the Department of Veterinary Medicine or the Office of Research? And why the specific position? So why this exact role? Tell us a little bit more. We're really curious about that. I will tell you that truthfully. And the cover letter is also a great opportunity for you to provide additional context. So maybe you've had gaps in employment. You took a year off to care for your children or a parent, or you took a few years off to go back to school. Tell us a little bit more about that. Perhaps you're applying to a job and your experience isn't like a dead-on match, but you have relevant or equivalent transferable experience. You might need to elaborate and talk a little bit more about how it is relevant or transferable. And last but not least, definitely use your cover letter to highlight your accomplishments, your achievements, your successes, right? This is your time to shine and tell us why you're such a great person. So take that opportunity with your cover letter. And then on the resume, this is another, like I said, another really great tool. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about what we as recruiters, what we actually look for. And first and foremost, I should also say that real people, recruiters, not a system, not a keyword search, real people are the ones who actually screen every single resume, cover letter, application that comes through UC Davis or UC Davis Health. So make sure your resume is up to date. through your current position. And I recommend at least the last 10 years of experience if you have 10 years. Now, of course, if you're only joining the workforce now, you may not have that, and that's just fine. But keep it up to date. And definitely the biggest thing for your resume is you should demonstrate how you meet or exceed the required and preferred qualifications. For example, if the position says you need 2 years of experience, make sure you have at least that 2 years of experience on your resume. If it says you need X skill, Y skill, Z skill, put that on there. Speak to those skills and accomplishments that you have from past or current positions. And then Mario mentioned this: degrees, certifications, licenses. If that's listed as a requirement on the job position, please make sure that you include that on your resume as well. Don't assume that we know, because we don't. There's millions of people out there. So take the time to make sure your documents accurately reflect your experience and competency. And here are a couple of examples, and we will send you a copy of these slides for further review. But a basic one-pager right here, you can see at the top, this individual has their contact information, which is very important. Please do list your contact information on your resume. I know Mario and I can both tell you we've received applications or resumes and cover letters with no phone number or no email, and then we have no way to talk to you. So do include that on there. Now, a common question I get is about your address. You can include your full address, or if you just want to put city and state, that works as well. But again, I do recommend that contact information. But back to this example on a one-pager, you can see the individual broke this up really nicely into sections: education, relevant employment experience, related projects, technical skills, coursework, etc. They also highlighted, or I should say bolded, important and pertinent information like where they went to school, their degrees, where they currently work, their current job title, and dates of employment. That makes it really easy for me as a recruiter to see exactly what this person's experience looks like. So that's one example. And here, it's a slightly different format, but otherwise everything's the same. This one's a 2-pager, but again, you see that great contact information at the top. You see the breakdown, so things like summary, education, and work experience. And again, using tools like bolding so we can have a really clear picture of exactly what you did, where you did it, and when you did it. So a couple good resume examples here that make my job easier when I'm screening these. And again, just to go back through and nail these down one more time: contact information, professional summary. Some folks do include a professional summary. Now, this may be just a couple of sentences to talk about the overall big picture of your experience and accomplishments. Some folks do include a skills section, and perhaps this has a few different bullet points relative to the important skills or qualifications that the job requires. We already talked about licenses and certifications, work history, and definitely make sure there are dates on your resume as well. So for each position that you have, please do include those dates. That helps us if there is a years of experience requirement. Some folks do put volunteer work on there. So if volunteer work, if that is applicable to the position that you're applying to, or even if you're someone who that's just, personally close to your heart, please feel free to leave that on there. That showcases additional opportunities that you're involved with. And then leadership and diversity. Those are really important things. So please make sure if you have any notes, accomplishments, or skill sets that you can, of course, recognize that on your resume as well. Now, I already mentioned that we humans are the ones who review all of these documents for you. So what I wanted to tell you about here is how we actually screen. So once you apply, you send in your resume, you send in your cover letter, what happens next? Well, what happens is we're reviewing those documents, and we are screening every application that comes in. And what we're doing is we're screening applications based on the required and preferred qualifications on the job description. So quite literally, we have an Excel table that has the minimum qualifications, those preferred qualifications, and I'm checking boxes to say, okay, yes, Mario does have 5 years of experience. Mario does have his bachelor's degree, so on and so forth. So that is how we screen it. So again, the information you put onto those documents is really important, okay? And we only share those who meet those required qualifications with the hiring manager. And then right here, the second bullet point is saying to make yourself stand out. This is not to scare you or anything by saying we have a high number of applicants, but to be transparent and honest with folks that we do get significant number of applicants. So again, taking that time to tailor your resume and cover letter for each position that you're applying to and really highlighting those skills and accomplishments as they pertain to that job that you're applying to. So, talked about resumes, talked about cover letters. Hopefully you have an understanding of how we use those to then screen you as a candidate through the process. So I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit to talk about LinkedIn for a second, because this can be a really, really valuable tool to you as well as a candidate. So I'll take a few minutes just to walk through this. But if you have a LinkedIn profile, take note of some of these capabilities here if you're not aware of them already. But LinkedIn, it is a professional networking site. It allows you to connect with like-minded individuals, professionals, companies, groups that are in line with your career interests. So if you don't have a LinkedIn, check it out. You can go to linkedin.com. But things you'll want to include on your LinkedIn profile is to have a photo, to have a profile photo. That helps make you look like a real person, right? And you want to use a photo that's professional, approachable, and you want to look happy, but not, I'm not like posing for a fake, senior portrait or anything like that. So include a profile photo. There's the opportunity for you to add a headline to your profile. And I'll show you this on the next slide. There's a really great opportunity. So for folks like yourselves who are open to opportunities, who are actually looking for work, there's a button that you can click, which lets folks know that. There's also a section on your profile where you can talk more about your background, your skill set, tell that summary of your experience. Use keywords. You can use keywords throughout your entire LinkedIn profile. You can add all of your experience. So just like you would on a resume, you could put your job titles, where you worked, and what your experience was. And then skills and endorsements. You can list various skill sets that you have and others can endorse you, and you can do the same. And the reason I mentioned LinkedIn is because so many organizations use LinkedIn as a recruitment tool, and maybe I should have started with that. But LinkedIn, I mean, for the leadership recruitments that I do, this is the #1 place I go to source and find candidates. And in full transparency, it's also how I got my job at UCDavis. My former supervisor, I did not apply. Well, eventually I applied, but I was not actively seeking work. I just happened to have a really well built out LinkedIn profile. And when she was looking for someone that was both a fundraiser and an executive recruiter, I think I was the only person she found within like 250 miles. So LinkedIn is a great tool. It's how I ended up here. So that's why I do spend a few extra minutes talking about this as a resource. And here's a perfect example, right? So that profile photo, the background photo, that's of UCDavis Health, since I am paid for by UCDavis Health. And I talked about that headline on the last page. And here, that's what I'm pointing to when I say friendly face, keywords, branding. I didn't put my job title there. Instead, I'm highlighting the services that I provide, the skill sets that I have, the things that essentially I want to be recognized for if someone is doing a search. So HR, talent acquisition, recruiting, diversity services, outreach specialists, community engagement. Very easy to find out what I do just by looking at that headline. And then other examples that I talked about. So using that skills and endorsement section, using that about section to talk more about, my career and what I can bring to the table. And so with that, we're wrapping up, but I did want to have Mario spend just a minute to talk to you all about the benefits of belonging and working with us here at UCDavis or UCDavis Health.
Thank you very much, Ellen, for walking us through the process. And once you are an employee at UCDavis, there are a plethora of benefit options that we offer. We offer medical, dental, vision, pension plan. Besides UCDavis' reputation as the employer of choice, our benefits is another reason why so many people want to work at UCDavis and UCDavis Health. And just to give you an idea, that all new employees are required to attend a 2.5-hour benefit selection training to go over all of our comprehensive benefit package. That's how long it takes to go through all the benefits that we offer. And again, there's a work-life balance information. We talk about leave of absences, time off, about discounts. So it's just a great resource and a way for us to retain our workforce as well. It's the wonderful benefits that we provide. And in addition, due to our diverse workforce, we have employee resource groups our employees can join. There's the African American Faculty and Staff Association. There's the Diversity Issues Administrative Advisory Committee. There's the Latinx and Faculty Association. You do not need to identify with any of these groups to join, but I would recommend that if you are an employee here at UCDavis UCDavis Health, or if you eventually become an employee, to join these groups. It provides a great opportunity for us to network with other colleagues. And also, if you take any leadership roles in those specific resource groups, you can use those, include on your resume as well as additional skills that you have gained, either being the president of the group, the secretary, public speaking. All those are great resources that you can, or skills that you can include on your resume and your application when you're applying for positions. It's a great networking opportunity, but as well, you gain additional skills to advance your career. Next slide, please. And that brings us to the end. And we want to hear from you and to see if there are any questions that we can answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Ellen and Mario, for sharing with us opportunities, how to apply, giving quick tips and steps. That was really cool. Thank you so much for that. We have one question in the chat so far, and it's from Reggie, and he wants to know, what's the best way to follow up for the position you applied for? So I know you talked about you're able to check the status, but I'm not sure, Reggie, let me know or put in the chat if you want more in terms of like following up with like a specific department or manager. How does that work with you guys?
Mario, do you want to do this one? Do you want me to jump in? I think that was you telling me I'll jump in. So, what I would say is the best option is to keep an eye on your status through TAM, through our talent acquisition management system, where, like I said, you should be able to see applied, reviewed, routed, screened, rejected. So if you weren't qualified, if you didn't actually meet the qualifications, that's what rejected means. So you can check your status there. Now, otherwise, yes, if you do know who the recruiter is, or if the position was posted on LinkedIn, for example, when I post jobs on LinkedIn, I always include my profile, so you can reach out to me. Then feel free to reach out. Of course, if you need to contact anyone, if you don't know the recruiter, you can always contact HR, and someone will, of course, get back to you and let you know the status of your application directly. And you can use the phone numbers on our main HR website for UCDavis or UCDavis Health.
And another thing too, and again, my apologies if you hear a sound, it's because there's construction going on. That's why I was not able to answer the question initially. But if you are called for an interview, now you have a department contact information as well to follow up with the hiring manager or the office personnel who called you from the department. You can follow up with them as well after the interview regarding next steps.
Awesome, thank you. The other question we have is that this individual worked for UCDavis Hospital in 1991. Should they include that in their work history, I guess, on the application?
So that's really your call. I know, I'm sure Mario can second me here. We get that question, I think, a lot when you're looking at, this was 20 or 30 years ago. So I think that depends. If it's now, say you were at UCDavis, 30 years ago, and the position was, I don't know, an admin, just a regular standard everyday admin. And now, you're applying to our chief operating officer position. Maybe that's not quite as important. But if it's directly in line with what you're applying to today, then yes. If I think you're maybe demonstrating to the importance of, hey, I have that UC experience. So maybe you just put a, bear with me, on your resume, instead of laying out all the details, what I see a lot of folks do with experience, and even mine looks like this, depending on what type of resume form I'm using, I may have really specific details about my most recent 10 years, and then I might just put a section that says past experience and list, UCDavis 1991 to 1998, this, and that. So it really varies. I think I also get that question from folks sometimes because they're worried about ageism and should I include something from 1990 on my resume? And, in that regard, the way we screen here is based on qualifications. So it doesn't matter as long as you are demonstrating that you have the experience. I will never screen someone out because they have 30 years of experience versus 10, if 10 is the minimum requirement. The person with 30 definitely still meets that, right? So sorry, that was kind of an answer all over the place. I hope that helped.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. The next question we have in the chat is, how long can your application stay en route to the recruiter queue? So I guess how long an application is on file?
Well, I mean, for a specific position, I mean, if you apply to a position, you're including your resume and your cover letter for that specific position. Once the position is filled, then it's done. It's over with. So, and if you are the candidate, then that's great. But remember that for every position that you apply to, it does not stay in a queue. You need to include a resume and a cover letter for each position, and it stays in that file until the position is filled. So there's no specific queue that we have a library of applicants, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And I think too, and maybe this will also help answer that question, is if you're asking, I applied for, if the person who's asking this is because, you applied to a position back in September, you haven't seen an update. While we hope it never takes that long, sometimes it does. Sometimes we're working with departments that are building up an entire department and we may be interviewing, multiple positions at a time. So some of them take a little bit longer for us to go through. And this last year, I guess to say the least, has just been interesting, right? Between COVID and shelter in place and all the different ways that we've had to kind of change the way we all work. That, in some cases that may be delaying it just a little bit. But the timeline, we usually try to move pretty quickly once a position closes. We as recruiters get applications over to the hiring managers within that next week. And we try to move right ahead on scheduling interviews and going from there. So hopefully that helped a little bit as well.
Okay.
And that's and another thing too, that as you can imagine, and Ellen shared this before, we get a large volume of applicants. So it takes us a little bit longer to go through all the applications, especially because each recruiter is reviewing each applicant that applies for the position and then route it to the manager. The manager does a secondary screening, and that can take some time while a interview panel is selected. So, we're not looking, we're looking maybe, 2 to 3 weeks before maybe there's some contact to the candidates to invite them for an interview. So it takes some time.
Okay. The next question is from Jeanette. She's a recent MSW graduate. Congratulations. And she wants to know, can an internship experience count for years of experience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Are there any more questions that any job seekers have that are connected with us today? Please feel free to type them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question, whatever is your preferred preference.
Yeah, and especially for some of you who did type in the chat, if you need further clarification, please feel free to speak up. I know one of my answers was a little all over the place, so my apologies for that.
And Ellen, also, if you want to go to the next screen, I mean, if anyone has specific questions related to recruitment here at UCDavis or UCDavis Health, you are more than welcome to email us directly, and we'll gladly walk you through anything that you need specific information about.
And then Erica or Brittany, did we cover anything that maybe you thought about of, ooh, that might be a good question, or questions you get often from constituents?
Yeah, I was about to go into some frequently asked questions. So one of the questions I have and that a lot of job seekers are asking just is one about turnaround time. I know COVID, a lot of operations have changed. So do you guys have kind of like a gauge from like application to interview process, or is it just kind of up in the air with everything going on right now?
I would say that's more of a harder question to answer because of how many employees, how many departments, and how many different types of positions we have here,
Yeah.
right? Because I know some positions, if we're talking about, Mario mentioned like the MOSCs, the medical office service coordinators, or the HUS, the hospital unit folks, those tend to be really quick. We tend to do, I would say those tend to just be quick because we know what it is. It's, and it just happens pretty fast. Now, in terms of Mario and I, we work on senior leadership recruitment. So for example, for me right now, I'm working on chief operating officers, chief technology officers. We work on associate vice chancellors, management level positions, and those take quite a bit more time. I get even hundreds of applicants for those senior level of positions. So you have to imagine, that takes me quite a few days to review. The department, they're usually very qualified, so then they need to go through that whole list of folks as well. Perhaps there's an additional screening layer. So it does vary quite a bit. I would say one thing that's, that I can say is standard regardless is our positions will be posted 99% of the time for a minimum of 2 weeks. So if you are looking for a job, if you're checking our jobs, our career site once a week, you shouldn't ever miss anything. So that is one key timeline I can give you, is positions posted for typically a minimum of 2 weeks. Other than that, it does vary a little bit. And I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you there.
No, I totally understand that, but that is a common one that comes up. We do have another one in the chat, a question from Ashley. Ashley was invited for an interview last March, but then the lockdown occurred. She reached out, seems like she didn't hear anything, reached out in April and June. And then she saw the position was back up in December 2020, which she applied again, but she's wondering what happened to her first application for the same position.
Ashley,
No, was she invited for an interview? Does she have she has the contact person for that position, correct? Did I understand that correctly, or?
Yeah, it looks like she reached out to the recruiter via phone in April. Yeah, but it looks like she was invited for an interview in March. So
what I was going to say is, because I don't know, and I don't want to make her have to tell us her whole life story in the chat in front of everyone. So Ashley, I believe it was, take down Mario or I's email. Feel free to send us a follow-up and we can hopefully help out, or at least send you over to the proper recruiter or proper contact. But I feel like that's a question where maybe we can help you a little bit more one-off. So please take down one of our emails.
Nice.
Yes.
Then another question came up. This individual, the technical school that they received their degree from, stated that that going to school while working on their degree counts as experience. Is that correct?
Going to school, repeat that again.
It looks like going to school while working on degree counts as experience. So that's what that individual was informed by the school that they were attending. So they wanted to know, is that correct? Like, I guess in terms of like, for verifiable experience on, application, like I'm going to school, working towards a degree, does that count as experience if they're trying to apply for a job that's in that particular, discipline or career pathway?
Okay, so if I understand correctly, this is just a scenario. The individual is going through medical assistant through a medical assistant program, and if I understand correctly, the time that the individual has spent in the medical assistant program, will that count towards years of experience?
That's what the question looks like. So okay. I'm gonna go for yes, and definitely indicate in the chat if I've missed a mark. So, but yes, that's what it looks like.
Because if that is the case, I would say that it does not, because you're not working with your MA certification. You are going to school for the certification, but you're currently not working using after graduation with that certification.
Yeah, and I think that's what I would say as well. Now, if it's a degree program or certificate program where you're physically doing that hands-on work, or you have to have, 1,500 hours or 2,000 hours, then I think, yes, there's definitely a way to put that on there so that it's applicable. But if it's saying you need 4 years experience in engineering, a 4-year bachelor's degree is not 4 years of experience in engineering, if that makes sense.
And just to also to clarify a bit more, the fact many of the medical assistants that go through a technical program, they do an internship at UCDavis or any other organization. And if you look at the job descriptions for a medical assistant 1, which is an entry level, we emphasize on there that the time that they spend in the internship program, either at UCDavis or another institution, counts towards the 6 months experience required for that to be eligible for that position. So in that case, yes.
Okay.
So that was another one of those fun questions where I think it can vary depending on what it is. So if you're someone and we didn't quite get to your answer, or you have some more specifics, please feel free to take down our email, and Mario or I would be happy to kind of walk you through that a little bit more if we didn't cover your exact question.
I'm not seeing any additional questions in the chat. Definitely feel free to put them in the chat if you have any more questions. We have a few more minutes. So I have a question. So for someone that's looking to just, start a career with a company such as UCDavis, they don't have a lot of experience. Would you suggest going through TES to just kind of get their foot in the door, to see what options are available? Would that be kind of the best route to look into?
Yeah, and I think, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to mention specifically TES during this presentation, is exactly for folks that are looking for more entry-level positions, because it gives you the opportunity to, kind of, I don't want to say give us a test run, but kind of, right? I mean, we're giving you a test run, you're giving us a test run is essentially what that is. So you have the opportunity to come into a position, on a temporary basis, and that gives you the chance to learn more about the university, about the department that you're in, about other departments on campus, about what our position classification system looks like, what our, levels of promotion look like. So you get a much better understanding in terms of, I think, is this a place where I would want to grow my career, and are those opportunities really here for me? And as someone, personally, I used to do temporary recruiting, and it's a phenomenal way for folks to get their foot in the door, regardless. We shared an example of our talent acquisition manager that started with TES. I can count at least another 10 friends of mine that I know within our system that started as temporary employees and figured how to grow their career from there. So yeah, I just think TES is a great opportunity because, there's different baskets like we went over. So admin or clerical, and the different kind of buckets depending on your skill sets that are available to you. So yeah, it's a place I definitely recommend if you are entry level and looking to get in, if you're not finding career opportunities available.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions. I'm going to open it up. We have about another 2 minutes or so for questions. And Ellen and Mario both gave everyone their email. That's awesome. So, how—
Now, don't all email us at once.
I didn't say that. I just said it's awesome. So you have their email if you want to reach out or have specific questions. That's great that they offered that as a resource. So I'm gonna last call for any additional questions. Feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat. And if not, we're gonna go ahead and close this out. I'm gonna share my screen really quickly with everyone. And okay, so again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to learn about opportunities with UCDavis and UCDavis Health. The items that was presented today will be sent in an email. So the email that you registered with, you're going to get an email that says, thank you for joining. And so you're going to get information from today. Also, there's a link to a survey. It'll be super cool if you filled it out, because then we'll know that you were actually here. And it helps us kind of promote additional events that we have going on. As mentioned earlier, if you weren't on the call or didn't join initially at 12, we offer events with employers several times throughout the month. Our next employer that we will be hosting is, oh, I didn't have it up. That's not cool. So our next employer that we'll be hosting is YOLO 911. They are hiring for dispatchers 1 and 2. That recruitment is actually going to be on Friday, this Friday, the 15th, from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. If you want to register for that, you can go to YoloWorks.org. You're going to see the emblem for YOLO 911. Click it and register. So all of our events, we posted on our website, on our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. Ellen mentioned LinkedIn. So yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can join us there and look for any updates for any employer, job postings that we received, any events, any job fairs, job talks, and any additional resources. So thank you so much for joining us, and be on the lookout for that email, and have a great day and be safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I could tell that that was the first time I've done a presentation since coming back from the holidays, so I apologize.
No,
Also,
you're
I'm
fine.
a little just everything in the world right now, kind of.
No,
Did
you're fine.
amazing.
Okay, good.
No, this was great. Thank you so much. I'm super, super, super excited about this. Looking forward to March and then May, I think is the
Yes.
next date. So
Yes,
I will go ahead and send you the link for March.
perfect.
Well, and yeah, whenever you send me the materials, I send it to folks. We created like a little like recruitment, just a Google Drive that folks can
Oh,
click
perfect.
any past employer events. And once we get the video, we'll post it on our social media and send it out to folks. So
Perfect. And then, yes, you have the link for the next one. So send that to me and I'll
Yes.
update the flyer for you.
yes, I will send it
Perfect.
to you. And then
And
I'll
no,
also
yeah.
get you a list of everyone that registered, because even folks that registered, I just send stuff, whether they actually joined or just registered, so that folks can have information. So
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes. Sounds
Awesome.
good. Thank
thank
you.
you. All right,
everyone.
Bye,
awesome.
you guys.
Thank
Bye.
All
you.
right, bye. Brittany, can you stay on for a second?